Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. We're going to split today's video into two. So the first half is going to have a look at what's happening in the Caribbean in terms of Hurricane Irma, and we've also got two more named storms now as well. So have a look at all the developments in the tropical part of the Atlantic Ocean, the first half of today's video, and then we'll have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days in the second half of today's video. It's going to be quite a long video, obviously, with a lot to cram in. Just to say that 5-day forecast was released earlier today. You can find the video to that here on the homepage. And also there's a written version. You get to that from the buttons at the top of the page. I'll try to get through everything as quick as possible. So this is a satellite image of the Category 5 Hurricane Irma in the Caribbean. This huge white swirl of cloud is how Irma looks from space. And of course that is the eye of the storm, the eye of the Category 5 Hurricane Irma. This is the latest from the National Hurricane Center in terms of all of our storms and hurricanes that we've got going on. So this, of course, obviously, is Hurricane Irma just here. That's where most of the attention is at the moment. It is moving into the Caribbean now. It's affected Barbuda, and it's also affected St. Martin. It's going to carry on affecting more Caribbean islands over the coming couple of days before probably curving northwards into Florida at the weekend. Elsewhere, we've got named storm Katia, tropical storm Katia here, or Katia heading into Mexico. That's depression that's been around the Gulf of Mexico for a few days. That's developed into a storm now. It's going to push into Mexico in the coming couple of days. And we've also got named storm Jose. This is probably going to become another hurricane in the tropical Atlantic within the next couple of days. So the tropics really are alive at the moment. Let's deal with all of these storms. So we'll start off with Katia, and we can see its current position is just here out in the Gulf of Mexico. It's not going to make a hurricane. It's going to stay as a storm, but obviously still packing a real punch. And this storm, this tropical storm, is going to be by Saturday just off the coast of Mexico, off the east coast of Mexico. And then it's going to move inland as a depression as we get through weekend, bringing huge amounts of rain, but gradually weakening as it pushes inland. That one probably not going to make a hurricane. This is Jose, and again the position of tropical storm Jose is just there right now. This is likely to develop into a hurricane by tomorrow. The National Hurricane Center has it as a hurricane, and this one, as we go through the weekend and inside of next week, that's getting very close to some of the islands that are being hit by Irma right now. So there may be a second punch from Jose for some of these islands at the weekend and into the early part of next week. This one not going up to a major Category 3 or above hurricane, but it is making hurricane status. So Category 1, Category 2 seems likely. That's where it's forecast to be by Monday. Wonder whether that'll push northwards and hit Bermuda. I wouldn't totally rule that out. And then, of course, at the moment, all eyes are on what Irma is doing. So this is the latest position of the Category 5 Hurricane Irma right now. The soundings that are coming out of this really are quite astonishing. So it's giving sustained gusts of wind of around 185 miles an hour, and it's giving gusts of wind of over 215 miles an hour. It's hard to imagine what those sort of wind speeds would be like to experience, but obviously very devastating, very frightening weather for everybody in the Caribbean islands just at the moment. The track of Hurricane Irma is to move through the Caribbean, so it's going to affect many of the islands. Puerto Rico is going to be affected, British Virgin Islands will be affected, Dominican Republic and Haiti likely to be affected as well by the weekend. That's in the next couple of days. By the weekend, Cuba is very likely to be effective. That's the island of Cuba just there. And then later in the weekend, possibly inside of next week, the storm is still set to curve northwards and directly hit and impact Florida. Category 5 hurricane at the moment, so it's as strong hurricane as you can get. In fact, I think it's the second strongest hurricane ever recorded. Only one hurricane has been stronger than this one. And as we go through the next few days, it's probably going to go back to a Category 4, but still packing a real punch. Even as it gets to Florida, it's probably going to be either a Category 4, maybe still a Category 5. So it is going to be pretty devastating over the next few days down in that part of the tropical Atlantic Ocean. So this is the GFS forecast for the tropical Atlantic, and we're starting today on Wednesday the 6th of September. This is from tropicaltidbits.com. You'll find the link to Tropical Tidbits on the links page. So that's the position of Hurricane Irma just there. This is Storm Jose over here, and of course that's Katia over there. Well, obviously we're interested mainly at the moment in Hurricane Irma, so let's run through and see what the GFS does with it. It carries on pushing it through the Caribbean, so there it is, for example, tomorrow, affecting places like the Dominican Republic and also Haiti, and then it's going to carry on pushing it northwards and eastwards into Cuba as we get through to Saturday. It's just off the north coast of Cuba. We'll be giving them a real pasting, and we carry on, and it eventually going to start curving northwards. There it goes as we get through to Sunday. Hurricane Irma is pushing northwards into southern parts of Florida, and that then carries on northwards just off the coast of Florida, just off the east coast of Florida, but giving the whole of Florida a real pasting. With torrential rain and very severe winds. And then it carries on pushing further northwards into the early part of next week. It's heading into Georgia and also into the Carolinas, South Carolina and North Carolina as well, giving them a real pasting as it does so. Finally, it gets inland into the eastern part of America, and it begins to die a death. By that point, notice that Hurricane Jose is sitting just there. That might be heading up to affect Bermuda through the middle part of next week. That's how the GFS is seeing things. What about the ECMWF? So again, we're going to start with the latest position of Hurricane Irma, which we're going to go through to there. So this is where Hurricane Irma currently is on the ECMWF. That, of course, down there is Jose. Let's carry on pushing through, and of course I was going to run through those Caribbean islands first, so next 2 or 3 days, hitting Cuba on Saturday. Keep in mind, again, this is giving sustained winds of 180 miles an hour plus, getting gusts of wind of well in excess of 200 miles an hour. So devastating weather with this low pressure, this storm, this hurricane moving through the Caribbean in the next couple of days. And then again, we get the curve northwards from Sunday into Monday. Hurricane Irma pushes into Florida. Could be anything from a Category 3 to a Category 5 hurricane by that point. I think the ECMWF is, or does have it as a Category 5 here, hitting Florida in the early part of next week, so sort of Sunday into Monday. But other models have reduced that down a little bit to Category 3 or Category 4. Either way, it's going to be a very impactful hurricane that's going to hit Florida if these forecasts are correct. And then it carries on pushing northwards into Georgia and into Carolinas for the early part of next week, where it finally begins to die a death. And then that, of course, following behind is Hurricane Jose. Just there. Not yet sure how intense that's going to become But it certainly is going to be a hurricane at the very least. It might push up towards Bermuda. Notice by day 10, we've gone out as far as we can go with the ECDF at this point to Saturday the 16th of September. Notice by then, so that's Hurricane Jose just there. Irma has gone, that's died. And it looks like yet another hurricane forming in the tropical Atlantic just there by day 10 on the ECDF. That could be the next named storm, and the next name on the list is Lee, I think. So that could be either Tropical Storm or Hurricane Lee forming in around 10 days' time of Tropical Atlantic. Very, very active hurricane season this year. Now, if you know anybody that's off to Florida or currently in Florida or in the Caribbean, they will need, of course, to take great care with this severe weather that is going on right now. They'll need to keep in touch with their tour operators and also with the authorities in these Caribbean islands and also in southern parts of America, in Florida, to keep in touch with how to stay safe. Evacuations and states of emergencies are being declared in this part of the world as we speak. So very, very severe and impactful weather. Finally, just to show you the GFS close into America from weathercenter.de. This is the position of Hurricane Irma as we go through into Saturday, just to the north of Cuba. As we run through, we're going to see Hurricane Irma pushing northwards. There it comes, just off the eastern coast of Florida with its eye, but essentially giving very severe weather to much of Florida through the course of the weekend. We've gone up to Monday the 11th of September, when Irma is giving Florida a real pasting, and then it carries on into this southeastern corner of America, affecting Georgia, the state of Georgia just there. And then, of course, we've got South Carolina and North Carolina just there. All those areas getting very severe weather early next week before the storm finally begins to die down as it pushes further inland and loses its energy and its identity. So really severe weather coming up for that part of the world in the next few days. We'll be keeping you updated on all of the latest information with Hurricane Irma and the subsequent hurricanes that are likely to develop this season here at the website. So let's come back closer to home. We'll have a look at weather for the UK for next week to 10 days. We've got the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles just here. The red line here is a 30-year upper air temperature average. This is for London, and we're a bit below average at the moment. And look at this, we're just generally staying cooler than average, certainly in terms of the upper air temperatures, going right way into the second half of the month. This is mid-September just here. This is the second half of September just here. And, well, the white line here, which is the ensemble mean, so that's taking all of these individual lines of spaghetti together and sort of creating a mean line. And that's just staying under average really from start to finish. So we spoke about this in the video yesterday. It looks like we are going to be in for a very cool first half to September. And to go along with that, quite a lot of precipitation as well. So reasonably dry now down in the south for today and tomorrow, but after that rainfall spikes are coming back Friday and through the weekend and into next week as well. Looks like we've got plenty of rain coming up to go with those cool temperatures. Temperature anomalies for next week from the 6th to the 14th of September coming out cooler than average for the UK, and also coming out cooler than average for France as well. It's an east-west split really. Much of the west of Europe is coming out cooler than average, much of the east of Europe coming out warmer than average. So the usual sort of September warmth that we tend to see in the British Isles in the early part of September, that's been shoved down this year quite unusually into the southeastern part of Europe, and we are very much on the cooler side of things. Precipitation anomalies for the next week going from the 6th through to 14th of September. They're coming out average to wetter than average. So a proper cool, wet week looks like it's coming up through many parts of the country. This is how Sunday's looking, man. A deep area of low pressure. This is autumnal, 980 millibar area of low pressure. That's proper autumn low. That is moving in from off the Atlantic, going to bring most of us a bit of a wet and windy day on Sunday. That low pressure starts to move into the North Sea. On Monday, turns the winds into the north. They're cool and showery winds pushing down from the north. And we've got another area of low pressure out to west of Ireland on Tuesday. That is only going in one direction, so that pushes across the country. By Wednesday, it's exiting the North Sea. That's brought another bout of pretty wet and windy weather across the country. Then the wind turns into the north as we run into the second half of next week. We begin to get a bit of a ridge out in the Atlantic, so at least we're turning a bit drier here. This is very cool with northerly winds, probably still bringing showers to the north and the east. But the ridge, it is sort of developing from the west. So by day 10, which is Saturday the 16th of September, yes, we have got a bit of a high out to our west. The air is still coming from a north-northwesterly direction around that high pressure, so it is likely to still be cool. But it should be quite a bit drier there. However, if you have a look at the ensembles again, you'll see there's no real drying trend in evidence, certainly not until the very latter stages of the ensemble. So how long this ridge lasts and how much drier weather it brings around the middle part of September, I think that is open to quite a little bit of uncertainty and quite a little bit of doubt. If this ridge does build in, by the way, it is likely to bring some notably cool nights with the air mass that we've got across us. We might well be looking at temperatures going down into ground frost levels, particularly so for the north. East area looking like that. So Sunday brings this autumnal low in off the Atlantic. That looks really unsettled. That low pressure more or less over top of the country by midnight on Monday, bringing loads of rain and quite strong winds as well. I think the central pressure of that right in the centre below is 975 millibars, which is very, very low. It's very autumnal indeed, that low pressure. That low moves away into Denmark by Tuesday, but look what's waiting downstream. We've got more low pressure out in the Atlantic. So by Wednesday, that's moving in across the country. That's quite a deep low as well. That's going down to around 985 millibars, and again another autumnal spell of wind and rain sweeping in from the middle part of next week. That low pressure then exits into the North Sea, leaves us with this cool north-northwesterly wind, bringing in sunshine and showers. Then we run up to day 10, and the east of the earth is not making as much of that ridge in the Atlantic. So even by day 10, which is Saturday, 16th of September, it still looks quite unsettled, really. Low pressure is still the driving factor. The ridge is trying to build to the west and to the southwest through this area just here. But really, it's still this low pressure that's in control of things. And these areas of low pressure here in the Atlantic, I suspect if any ridge did try to build, they very quickly flatten it off and start to roll back in. So it looks like we're unleashing the Atlantic a little bit, and we're doing it very early in the season this year. You may remember last year, summer just went on and on through September. We had some very hot conditions in September last year. This year looks very different to that, with an early autumn getting into place. So that's how it's looking for the next week, 10 days. Very unsettled for British Isles. And of course, all the focus is going to be on what's happening in the tropics in terms of these storms and hurricanes. And we'll be keeping you updated over the next few days about that. Right, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.